First of all, I just want to say, as you know, we are in some very trying times, and it's trying for everyone. But it is really important in terms of staying at home. I think that's the only way that we're going to fight this thing. So again, I thank you for taking your time out to not only find out about what is going on with Journey Out, but also what is going on with the victims of human sex trafficking. I also would like to thank my staff, because for them, it's hard to get out as well. They have a job to do and they know that. And they are very happy to do their job. They are committed in terms of helping those that can't help themselves, that are entrapped in human trafficking and dealing with the violence and abuse that comes with that. And because they are so dedicated, they still come to work every day. But let it be known that no one is going out of their house without fear, because there is fear. But it takes fearlessness for a staff such as those dedicated to Journey Out to continue to work every day. So the question becomes, so what are we doing at Journey Out in order to keep them safe? Journey Out has been very proactive in this approach. We started coming up with a plan almost 3 weeks before this virus really got started and became rampant throughout the United States. We have hand sanitizer, not only for our staff, but for those that we serve. The tightrope that we have to walk is one that basically deals with how do we keep our staff safe, at the same time complete our mission for those that we serve, and keep those that we serve safe as well. And I think we've came up with a system that works, but what we do know is that it's a system that has to be flexible, because this thing is changing rapidly all the time. So I just want to go through the list of some of the things that we have done. First of all, we are not doing any in-person groups. So instead of doing in-person groups, we're doing them by Zoom. We have closed down our South Central as well as our Valley Drop-In Center. However, it is open to clients by appointment only. The reason why we had to do this is because we are considered to be an essential body. And by that, I mean, if we weren't out there helping and assisting victims of human trafficking, who else would? Because as this thing goes on, our clients are still going to be in need of help. And as this continues, they're still going to be in need of help. So therefore, we are doing it by appointment only. The other thing that we're doing is that when they come in, we are taking their temperature. We're following all the CDC rules in terms of staying 6 feet apart. And we're also using masks as well. We've been, interesting enough, Zoom is going very well. The clients as well as the staff are really having a good time on Zoom, and it really does keep us connected, to the point that when we run our classes, we've been up a little bit as it pertains to girls either wanting out of life or just needing assistance with things like food. And I'm going to go over some of the ways that you can help as it pertains to us being able to still serve our clients. We're doing casework over the phone. That's encouraged. However, if there is an emergency situation, again, we will do that by appointment with all of the protocol in place. We have purchased thermometers, and they're disposable thermometers, because what we've also been doing is we've been still going out on the track and giving out information on this, and when I say track, I mean the prostitution tracks, in which we are giving out hand sanitizers, information on the virus, as well as these disposable thermometers, in the hope that they have the ability to not only take their temperature, but use the information that we've given them to know when, what numbers they should call in terms of getting tested, as well as when they should go to the hospital. Also, I'd like to encourage those of you that have questions to please ask questions because I'm going to answer those as we go along. For those of you that don't know much about Journey Out in terms of what we do, we assist adult victims of human sex trafficking. The majority of our clients are domestic. We average about 360 clients a year. So as you can see, that's a lot of clients. It's very hard for us to shut our doors and not be able to give the assistance that we need. But again, we're doing that safely. In terms of donations and in terms of how you can help, some of the things that our clients have asked for, and I have a list, so I want to make sure I get the list right. There are things like clothing. We only accept new clothing only because we were getting clothing that was not very sanitary, and as a result of that, we ended up with the outbreak of scabies about 2 years ago. So because of that, we only ask for new clothing. And as that pertains to new clothing, we need things like shoes, socks, work clothes, hoodies, dress pants, leggings, jackets, undergarments. So those are just some of the things that we need as it pertains to clothing. Personal care is very important. Lip balm, towels, washcloths, bath bombs, face masks, especially during this time, in order to at least give them a sense of feeling good. So bubble baths, we know, ladies, are something that we always like. Health and home, first aid kits, pain meds, hand sanitizers, and as we know, that's kind of a commodity that we all would like to have. However, I must say that because we saw this coming, we've kind of stocked up on that, so we're actually pretty good with that. Phone chargers, portable flashlights, batteries. Some of the miscellaneous items, we always are in need of gift cards. And so we would like to use those gift cards, especially those for the grocery stores, so they can get things like food and water. Also, in terms of monetary is something that can go a long way as well because that helps us. So for instance, $120, that helps us with things like a crisis backpack. And let me talk about the crisis team very quickly. Our crisis team is used to assist law enforcement when they get a victim of human trafficking. When we get that victim, usually the only things they have are the clothes on their back. If that victim goes to a police station and says they need help, again, all they have are the clothes on their back. So what we do is that we have a backpack that's full of those clothing items that I just named, as well as journal, fuzzy socks, just something to make them feel comfortable during their time of crisis. The other thing that I would like to say that we've kind of changed up a little bit as it pertains to crisis. We are no longer going inside of the police stations, so we've asked law enforcement to either transport the victim here, or we will send them a Lyft or an Uber, if not to our location, to the location of placement. Another thing would be $75, and that would help with 1 week of groceries for a client. $60, that would help with clinical counseling sessions. So we are still doing counseling work. However, we're not doing it face-to-face. We're doing it by phone. $30 would help with 100 disposable thermometers, and that is for our at-risk clients that we actually give things to out on the blade or on the prostitution tracks. I would like to emphasize also that donations can be done by PayPal, and our PayPal link is paypal.me/JourneyOutLA. Again, that's paypal.me/JourneyOutLA. So some people have asked, well, what is going on? Are people still out even though it's stay at home? Are the victims still out? Are the paying customers, also known as John, still out? And unfortunately, the answer to that is yes. I was just out last weekend, and unfortunately, it was business as usual. I was out 2 weeks prior to that, right when this thing exploded, and we were giving out the thermometers, the hand sanitizers. And I would like to say they were so grateful that someone was out there thinking of them, and they were especially grateful to have the hand sanitizer. Within an hour and a half, I gave out 25 packets. That's a lot. I was out again, like I said, last week. The difference between last week and 2 weeks ago is what I found to be alarming. Usually when you go out in the field, they're extremely interactive. I didn't see that this time. What I saw on their faces was one of fear. They weren't really trying to flag down cars so much. They were kind of walking down the street almost in the hopes of nobody picking them up. They're no different than any of us. They are fearful of this virus, which tells me that they're out there for one of two reasons, and that is because of force. Now, that force or push factor could be poverty, in which it is a means to the end in terms of them to be able to survive, or it's because they're being forced out there through forced prostitution, meaning by way of a pimp or trafficker. I find that extremely disturbing. And so that's why it's so important for us to be able to get out there and get this information to those that are trapped in the violence of human sex trafficking. So, do I have any questions thus far?
No questions. But Ken Henry said that they love you. Belinda K. Metz from Texas is here. She just says she loves you as well.
Belinda from Texas, so thank you so much. I love you too. Ken Henry, thank you. Keep up the work. You know, what I have told our staff, because it's not easy to be out there right now. But you know what? It's easy to serve people at a time when it's easy. Now is the time to really serve people, because if we don't do it, who else is? And especially since the majority of the clients that we serve belong to a marginalized group that get lost in this whole conversation of a virus, that gets so lost in the conversation of needing to be helped. And so if they're getting lost in this conversation, then I think it's up to us to do what we're doing right now through Facebook Live, to keep people praying for them, keep them in their thoughts. Because again, if we don't do this, who else will? Any other comments or questions?
Wendy Mayhew from North Carolina says hello.
North Carolina, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are staying safe.
And Andrea Mickey Carmine Martin says that we are doing amazing work. Thank you.
Andrea, thank you so much. You know, and we really need to hear that. My staff needs to know that. Because, you know, as you know, not only are we concerned for our own health, but in some situations with my staff, some people are dealing with their own health issues, or they're trying to take care of those that are elderly. And just like everyone else, just afraid of, you know, bringing something back. We're on the front line. And not just Journey Out being on the front line. Who else is on the front line are organizations that are out there still helping the homeless, that are still out there doing outreach, that are still housing not only the homeless, but are still housing human trafficking victims. And those are also the people that are out on the front line. So I'm asking everyone that is able to hear me to please, please, please keep those organizations in your prayers as well, because it's not just Journey Out doing this. And if it wasn't for other organizations that we partner with, such as Saving Innocence and CAS and Genesee Center and the YWCA, you know, our partners are still in the fight. And Journey Out can't do this on our own. We can't. We never have been able to. And that's why collaboration and partnership has always been extremely not only important to me, but to the Journey Out staff as well.
Ken Henry also says TikTok Services stands with Journey Out and they have supplies.
TikTok Services is standing with Journey Out and has supplies. Thank you, TikTok. We will be reaching out to you.
And Cindy Spula says she sends love and support from Tennessee.
Cindy, all the way from Tennessee. Cindy is on our staff, and Cindy has been keeping us afloat in terms of our spending. She always does. And as it pertains to donations, you know, not only our nonprofit, but the nonprofits are also going to need donations as well, because we can't only just think of today. We have to look out in terms of what's going to happen a year to 2 years from now.
DeJour Jones stepped in to say hello.
Oh, who is that?
DeJour.
DeJour. Hi, DeJour.
Who's here? And then Melinda K. Metz says, thank you for this time together and work, and their staff is sledding in love and keep the momentum going.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and the same to you as well. So if that's it, the important thing was that I just wanted to reach out. I wanted you guys to know that in spite of this, that Journey Out is still out here working, and we are still tending to our clients. And I thought that that was so important. And for you to also know that we are doing everything to keep ourselves safe, the clients that we serve, and to be able to continue with our mission. So thank you guys so much for watching us today. If you have any other questions or you just want to reach out, you know how to reach us, journeyout.org. And let me just one more time in terms of the PayPal. It's going to be paypal.me/journeyoutla. Thank you. Before we closed out, it's to my understanding that RDS, Restoration Diversion Services, they're located in Compton, and they said they're not having any activity on Long Beach Boulevard. I actually was out there on Long Beach Boulevard about 2 weeks ago, and you're absolutely right. I didn't see anything out there. The activity that I'm seeing is primarily on Figueroa. However, if you have anybody that needs some assistance, please be sure and send them our way. One of the things that I have really been thinking about as this catastrophe, this warfare, this virus, whatever you want to call it, as it's been going on, is I question in terms of what is happening to those that are marginalized. What is happening to those that go to urgent care but may get turned away because they don't have insurance? So now they start to overload the emergency rooms, which we know that happens anyway. So I wonder quite often what happens to the marginalized in this situation. What happens to those that don't have friends or relatives that are doctors? Do they also get the same type of care? And then the sad thing that I wonder about is if we do come to a point where we become so overloaded and we have to make a choice of who lives or dies, what happens to those that are marginalized, that are poor? What happens to the 19-year-old that is out there on Figueroa that is forced to work even though she may be sick, or who is forced to work because she might be showing symptoms but is discouraged from going to the emergency room? And if she doesn't really articulate what her symptoms are, if she doesn't articulate that properly, does she get misdiagnosed? Because one of the things that they were saying this morning is that it's not only those that are old, but also the young who are also dying as a result of that. So it's just a thought that I've had. It's a prayer. It's a concern. And when I go out there and see what I see, I get even more concerned. So I was wanting to know, do you guys have any more questions or any more comments?
Will survivors benefit from the federal stimulus bill?
Oh, good question. Someone asked if survivors would be able to benefit from the stimulus bill. The way that it and that's a great question, because 9 times out of 10, it's supposed to be based on whether or not you have filed tax returns. I have seen that question come up, not as it pertains to survivors, but what happens to those who do not file taxes? Or what happens to those that don't make enough money to file taxes? Supposedly, they are also able to benefit from this as well. What we will do, and I'm glad that you did ask that question, what we will do, we will research that and we will put the answer to that up on our website. And we will do that this week, because I think that is an important question. I think it's an important resource. Thank you so much for that question.
We don't have any questions at the moment. We're just waiting.
So we'll wait and see. If I could sing, I probably would, but I can't. So I won't. One thing, though, let me say this, for those of you that are old like me, because I'm like La Brea Tar Pit old, make sure you take advantage of going to the stores. I know I have, especially when they said 60 and older, because usually it's 65 and older. I found it very beneficial because there's hardly anybody in the store. You're able to get those items that have flown off the shelves, and everybody else that's in there, they either have masks on or they have gloves. So that's kind of a PSA to for those of you that are old like me. Any other questions?
Not at the moment.
All right, so what we'll do, we'll close it out. Our phone number also, for those of you that might have questions, 818-988-4970. And then, of course, you know our email and our website, www.journeyout.org. Thank you guys again. Bye-bye.